welcome to our panel discussion today. I'm going to kick us off, and then hopefully you hear me talk the least. So we're going to talk about how to navigate changes within your firm. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about each of these three folks up at the top. But before we do that, it's also really important that you know who the heck I am. So my name is Jessica Riker. I'm our Director of Revenue Enablement here at Clio. So my job in particular is to help each of our folks that talk to customers understand how to speak lawyer. The only reason I have any amount of credit in that is I am a recovering attorney. I did practice for a short time and then made my way into legal tech, and I never left. So that is who I am and why I'm here. A big part of my job in enablement is to ensure that change management goes as smoothly as it possibly can, because of course, every single business that we're in, whether it be law or anything else, requires some change, right? And so we're going to talk about that in a lot of depth. And now I have the distinct pleasure of asking all of you, who are you? So how many of you are like solos? Oh my gosh, there's a couple of you. Yay, hi. How many of you are attorneys? You work at a firm that's larger than just you. Okay, that's most of you. Any support staff, paralegals? Yay, hi. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so it's good to know who you are. We're going to have time at the end to chat more, and then I'm sure there's other folks in here who are supporting on the law firm side as well. But welcome to all of you. So glad to see you here. We're going to go through and do some quick introductions, and then of course we'll do our discussion and then end with some Q&A. So keep your questions handy. We will come along to you at the very end for about the last 20 minutes. And so with that, I am going to pass it off. So I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves. Maybe we'll start with you, Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Reed. I am a marital and family law attorney down in Boca Raton, Florida, and I'm also a Clio user.
Amazing. Kathy?
Nice. Yes, it's on. My name is Kathy Torelli. I am a sole practitioner in Long Island, New York. I am focused on real estate law, and I do use Clio as well.
My name's Adam Sherry. I have a trust and estates office in San Diego. We have 5 support staff, 2 attorneys, and there's 50 years separating our youngest team member from our eldest team member. And so implementing a new practice management software, new programs in general, has been quite a voyage.
That was a very polite way of putting that. So I think we would be remiss if we didn't start off with what gets you out of bed every day? Like, what motivates you about your clients and about the practice that you have specifically? Like, I know back when I was practicing, it was really the client work, but I want to hear from you about what motivates you.
I think I would be lying if I told you that serving my clients is what motivates me.
I understand.
I think serving my family motivates me. So I am motivated every day to spend as little time working so that I can spend as much time with my family and making sure that my family is okay. And I think that, that's why all of these technologies and softwares are what keeps me moving and being able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
How about you, Kate?
Right. I would say what gets me, like Andrea, what gets me up in the morning is my daughter's got to get on the bus by 6:40 a.m.
Right.
And otherwise I'd be like sleeping. But what motivates me to start working is the fact that I am a sole practitioner and it's all on me. And being a real estate attorney, I do work very closely with my clients towards their goal of either selling or buying a home. So I feel like kind of personally responsible for them. So yeah, that's kind of what gets me going.
I love that.
I've heard parenting is hard, but I have a Labradoodle, and so that's really tough. No. So I get to work with clients who are either planning for their future when we do planning work or after somebody's passed away. And my clients, by and large, are very normal people. with normal incomes, normal assets, and yet I bill at an attorney's rate, like all the other attorneys in the office. And so it's important to me to make sure that I'm delivering value to those clients. And I'm not trying to be pious in saying that that's my goal, but that is ultimately what pushes me to be more efficient, more effective. It's one of the things that got me looking around in this space.
That's awesome. I mean, as we talk about your firms more specifically, I mean, there's anytime you have a job anywhere, I think, is that we all have that moment where like, oh my God, there has to be a better way to do this before I lose my mind a little bit. Like, what was that moment for you where you were just like, this inefficiency has to stop? It's just, this is not the best way to go about it. Like, Kathy, I can see you smiling already.
Yeah. Before I worked on my own, I was in a small law firm where, as an associate, and the owner of the firm, our boss, he hated the cloud. He hated new technology. We used to have to write down our billing, and if your handwriting wasn't good, it was a pain. How are you going to figure out what the person was saying? And we were just like, we need to be able to access this information other than being in the office, which was really annoying. If I had to come in on a weekend to finish up, maybe work on a trial, I'd have to bring my daughter into the office because I couldn't do anything from home. And it was just, I was like, come on, we need to do, step it up. And he just did not want, and he's not even that old. You'd think it would be a really old guy, but he was only a few years older than me. So, so that was kind of where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I empathize with that.
But it's much better now working on my own.
Yeah. How about you? What was your moment?
So I had a partner. I do divorces primarily, or the baby mama drama, as I like to call it sometimes. And I had a partner who had been practicing in that area for like 35 years.
Yeah.
We had all these different systems, and she didn't know how to use any of them. And I knew that there had to be a better way. And I also had little boys at that time. My sons were like 4 and 5. And so it was really important to me that I didn't waste time looking for a file in a box or in a what do you even call them anymore? A file cabinet.
There you go.
Right? And it was really important to me that I could just access what I needed to access. That if I needed somebody's phone number, I didn't have to, she had a Rolodex, and I had to flip through the Rolodex to find all of our clients' numbers. So it was really important to me that we found a way to streamline that and make, because at that time we weren't on Zoom and we weren't virtual. We were in the office, but I wanted to make sure that every hour I had in that office wasn't spent doing stupid things, because you can't bill for stupid things. Well, I told you I was a divorce lawyer, so yeah, we can bill for stupid things, but not stupid things, right? And so
the difference between stupid and stupid.
Well, yeah. So that was what kicked it for me.
I empathize. How about you, Adam?
So I'm the junior partner in my office, and I was lucky to step into one that was really well functioning, take good care of our clients, the work's good, et cetera. But same sort of thing in that we had a whole bunch of redundancies. So we had 4 separate systems, each required opening up a new matter, setting it up in its own way. And it was tough because not everybody understood each one of the systems, and it just caused a real breakdown. We try hard to be flexible with our team, and so if they need to work different hours for the sake of childcare or commuting or something like that, we were stretched to do that, but it was causing a problem when only one person knew each one of the 4 systems.
Right. Well, so how does that work then? Like, if you have you've got 4 different people in 4 different places, like, how do you get anything done?
It works poorly and slow. That was the problem. And communication was one of the biggest issues that we faced, mainly because once schedules started to, we still work in the office, all of us, every day. But again, we work different hours. And so just to share a quick anecdote that was a motivator, over the course of 12 months, we had mailed $1 million to the wrong address. Like not all at the same time. It was a bunch of distribution checks after a trust administration or something like that. And thanks to the women and men of the USPS, not a single one of them was cashed, or else I probably wouldn't be telling you about this. But I walked around the office and I said, I'm the new guy here, right? I'm also younger than a lot of my teammates, and I'm saying, like, I'm the new guy. Am I not following the system correctly? Where do we keep addresses? What do we do? And there was a really informal, non-centralized system of maintaining those sorts of details. And that was tough. That was a motivator because that was scary. Each time a check went to the wrong address, it was, how did this happen? Who did this? But then when it kept happening, it's a systemic problem. It's not an individual issue.
Right, so it's a disaster.
It's terrible.
It's a disaster. I'm like sweating thinking about that situation. Okay, so how did you specifically, with all of that going on, how did you manage to say, okay, we have to start doing something differently? So what was the process that you went through to try and work with like this massive age gap at your office to try and get everyone to move to a different solution?
So thankfully, my partner's at the upper end of this age span that I was describing. And the best thing about her is that she understands that things could be better. She was enthusiastic about it generally, right? She understood the potential, she saw the problems, and it was just a matter of kind of me doing the legwork to bring to her a solution that was going to address these issues. And so I was lucky in that regard. But at the same time, since I was going to be the one who was its number one cheerleader in the office, I needed to make sure that it produced tangible results that didn't require somebody who was not necessarily as familiar with the systems to engage with it on a very deep level.
Yeah, I want to call that out again. Like the idea of being the cheerleader and always drawing it back to something that is tangible and measurable. That's a really big thing. I talk about that a lot when it comes to change management, and I just want to call that out again based on what you said. What about you, Andrea? Because you were bringing in Clio at your new firm, and obviously like you're like the top dog, but did you come across any other hurdles in getting it adopted?
Well, before I left the practice that I was in where I had the partner, we tried to bring in Clio, and my Clio guru goddess is in the room. I won't point her out, but she came to our practice and taught us. I had been at Atticus. It's a lawyer training program.
Yep.
And someone had mentioned to me that they're in family law and they were making about $150,000 more than me every year. And we talked about how, and one of the things I realized was she was being able to capture more, and she was able to bill more because she was using her time more efficiently. So I literally bought Clio that night, and I went home, and I inputted 35 clients, 35 matters, and I started uploading things. And then I called Sherry the next day, and I said, I bought Clio. She said, great, we'll put it together on Monday. He said, no, don't worry about it, I already did it. And she was like, okay, let's walk that back. So I got a little too excited. My partner, who at the time was about 30 years older than I was like, oh, what? We had been using time slips, and we had been using QuickBooks, and we had been she thought that we had gone from the Rolodex to the Excel, and that was awesome, and that was technology. So then I brought in this thing, and I didn't have enough buy-in, and that was a mistake. I didn't have the buy-in of the old paralegals. I didn't have the buy-in of the managing partner. Right. They couldn't see, like Adam was saying, you have to quantify it on return on investment for time. Yeah, you guys, we're going to dig in, and we are going to upload all of this information, but I promise you that when it's done, it's going to spit out forms, and it's going to spit out everything that we need. And so the mistake at that firm was I was too excited about the product. I didn't spend enough time on the buy-in. Like Adam said, I didn't key in on what the tangible benefits were going to be. Right. So that partnership ultimately didn't work out for a lot of those reasons. But when I brought it to the new practice, I brought a whole new group of people together who all bought in and could see where it was. I had a young, millennial associate attorney who said, you guys, we can do tasks in this program, and I can tell you what to do, and then you can tell me that you did it.
Yay!
And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And then she was like, and you can do it on your phone. And so I had a young group to buy in, and a group that had grown up on computers. And so that was it. I should have done a better job with the buy-in on the first end.
Yeah, it seems like, and I want to be really clear that regardless of like a person's age, like there's this idea of just level of comfort with something that's new. And so as we look around at all of our peers and we really think about what it takes to be successful in bringing in legal tech, you know, it's important to also think about like there's so much more that goes into it, right? And I'm sure, like, I was talking to Kathy ahead of time, and I was like, so what kind of buy-in process did you have? Did you have to convince your dog that this was, like, the best way to go? So that was fun. I love it. Anyway, so what I want to kind of talk about now is when we talked about change, how do you actually get something in the door and starting getting it implemented, but I wanted to ask about the difference between when you first started using the platform to now, right? So you all have had Clio now for at least 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, like, Adam, walk us through, like, where did you start? Did you go whole hog and say, we're gonna do all the things, or did you kind of start slow?
Yeah, I would have loved to say that we're gonna do all the things, and I knew I would have, just like you were saying, kind of lost support among my team. And so the onboarding processes for, you know, whatever the different software is, it's great that people will map it out for you.
Yeah.
And I just had to just call pause and tell them, we're not going to do it like that. We're not going to be able to do it like that. And so we just started with we added one thing at a time. And so first we started with billing and contacts, because those are the easiest things, and we knew that we needed to do that. The other thing that we did, which was super important, was by choosing a system that has robust integrations with legacy systems, I was able to provide benefits by having it running on the back end while people were still interfacing with things that they were really familiar with. So Outlook, right? The integration with Outlook was really big because people didn't even know that they were benefiting from the fact that we were able to centralize things. And you know, I say we because as far as the process is concerned, I had the cheerleader role, but I also had somebody who, in my support staff, and we're lucky to have great support staff, but you know, I happened to chose the youngest person on our team to come along, and we basically got trained up together. And so we added things slowly and started shifting things from Outlook into Clio. And I guess I just got to say, it also continues to involve a certain amount of restraint. So we currently don't send out email bills. We haven't gotten there yet. Right. We don't accept electronic payments yet, and we haven't gotten there yet. And it takes a certain amount of restraint, but it's not a matter of restraint for restraint's sake. I know that if I push it, I'm going to own it, right? So if I break it and introduce something new, I own it. And I don't have time to own all these things, right? I still got a bill. I still have to meet with clients, all those things. And so again, we're 2 years in, and we're still not using all of it, and that is okay, because I'm able to, we've reduced redundancies, we have fewer errors, we have more available data, and then also my partner is able to ask questions like, where are we with these matters? And she doesn't need to know how exactly we're able to provide a report. She just knows that the report's accurate. It's there way faster than it would have been.
Yeah, no, that's fair. How about you, Kathy? Do you use it any differently today than 2 years ago?
I would say because 2 years ago is when I started my firm, on my own. So I was able to use it from the ground up. So I didn't have, like Andrea, I didn't have a lot of stuff to input. I started there with a blank management profile there, and it was just getting to know it. But now I would say I use it quicker because I know what I'm doing. And, the best part is, like, if a client calls and they're like, I just want to know where I am, and I just go right there, and it just makes them feel like that their matter is on the top of my head.
Yeah.
because I can spit out where we are with that, or if a realtor calls and wants to know the update, it's just right there. And I know exactly where to go and how to upload my documents, and send out bills. So I would just say that it's a lot cleaner and easier for me than in the beginning, but, it wasn't.
I love that moment of like the client is like, I'm your priority right now. And that's such a beautiful feeling to have as somebody who's calling,
Yeah.
somebody that's providing a service.
Meanwhile, they
that.
don't know that I'm like, oh my
Like,
God,
right,
there's their matter. All right.
They don't know behind the scenes. Yeah.
Like-
No, but it's such a beautiful feeling to have
Yeah.
and be able to give to your client. So
Yeah. And even with the mobile app, I can, wherever I am, I can let them know where we are with their matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Well, I think that there's this moment of when you implement a new system, there's either a moment of like, okay, I don't know if this was a good idea, or there's the moment where like, oh my gosh, I know I made the right call. And so I want to add, like, what was that moment for you in particular, Andrea? Like, when did you feel like, yep, I did the right thing? Other than uploading all your stuff immediately.
So I think that for me, it happened on a football field in St. Petersburg. So where most of my life happens, on football fields.
Yeah.
But I had to take a deposition, and my son was playing in a national championship for football. Pee Wee football, really big, important.
Very important.
And we were staying at IMG campus in St. Petersburg. They have a hotel on campus. I needed to take a deposition, and I needed all the documents that I needed. I needed everything. So I literally tipped a guy at the hotel and said, hey, take me over to this field on the golf cart. I'm going to watch him play. I'm not going to tell you about how they went into triple overtime and the guy had to sit on the golf cart and wait for me. But then he literally whisked me away on the golf cart to the hotel that's on the campus, and I took a 4-hour deposition, and everything that I needed was right there at my fingertips. And so I was able to pull the documents to share on the screen. I was able to, go through the notes from the client. They were in the program. I was in Clio and I was doing everything. And that night I got to go to dinner with my family. Oh no, we went to Golden Corral with the team. But hey, I got to be there.
You got to be there.
and I think that was when it like the light bulb went on for me. Now that has a lot to do with post-COVID stuff, but at the same time, it was all at my fingertips, and in real time, my staff, who was watching the deposition back at the office, was bringing in files into Clio for me that I was pulling up and sharing on the screen
that's awesome.
from a hotel in St. Petersburg. So that was kind of the aha moment for me.
Well, and that's beautiful because it allows you to do, because again, when we ask, like, what inspires you and motivates you, and it's just being able to be there for your family. And so that's a really good example of being able to be there when you're not.
Exactly. But it wasn't something I could have done 5 years ago when I started on Clio. 5 years ago, I was at 5%. I had matters.
Right.
Okay, I had matters in Clio, and I could pull up everybody's phone number. Now I can pull up their calendar, and I can tell you what's coming up, what their deadlines are for mandatory disclosure.
Right.
Then the next year we we started putting in documents, and we started uploading documents, and now I could pull out a notice of hearing in 2 minutes. And now we're at a place where I'm using Clio Grow, and my clients are filling out all the intake information. I'm not duplicating questions to clients. It's all getting captured. And so like when you had asked the previous question about where are you now versus where were you then, I'm at about 25% capacity of what Clio does, and I'm pretty awesome at it. But I know that there's like 75% more that I could still do, and I'm still running efficiently.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. How about you, Kathy? What was that moment for you where you were like, I did it. I know I made the right call.
Oh gosh, that was probably when I was on the phone with one of the Clio representatives, and they were going through it with me as a demo, and I just knew that this was the program for me. That was it. I got Clio before I got even my checking account, my logo, the real name of my firm. It was the first
The real
thing
name
I
of
did.
your firm.
I was like, now I got to play. I have this software package now. I want to play with it.
No, that's fair.
And
Well, and
so, yeah.
especially if you're on your own.
Yeah, I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this, and this is what
Yeah.
I need first, and that's before anything. I didn't have any clients. I
Oh, that's amazing.
didn't have anything to put in Clio, but
Well, it's one of those moments where
I
you're
had
like,
a fake
look, I'm a for
client.
real professional. I have a thing. I've done it. I've done the thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just knew I needed that based on where I came from with the other firm. It was like, there's no way I'm going to be handwriting things or trying to keep track of everything myself.
Yeah, that's tough. I couldn't imagine handwriting everything again. I think my hands would fall off. I wouldn't be capable anymore. I type so much now.
Yeah.
So, I want to draw us back to something that you said, Adam, earlier about making sure that whatever you're doing has impact. And so, help me understand as we think about managing through change, especially something like implementing an LPM. But how do you measure that impact? Like, what's the biggest impact you've seen since you've implemented?
So this is the biggest, and it sounds like the smallest. One of the people in our office, when I would talk to her about changing things, every single time it was just fear. It was like a very visceral response on her face, and I really didn't like that. It bothered me. I was frustrated by it, and so just like thinking about my partner, who of course has a different role, I thought like, I'm going to make sure, right, that something that's very important to this person changes for the better.
Yeah.
And so when I knew things had changed, I was walking behind her because that's how it is, not because I was creeping on her computer screen or something. I was walking out the front door, and she had multiple Clio windows open, and I never thought I would see that. So that was a really minor thing, but it just felt good because she was the least interested. She was the one who was most resistant to change, and she was very effectively using the program for one of her core responsibilities. So that was one. The other one, which I just really didn't anticipate, and this was kind of one of the fun things about working with, again, a robust system, was, guys, this sounds so basic, but just being able to use electronic signatures. So we will get documents signed and returned in sometimes under 10 minutes. And that means that we're getting filings in a whole day or two early. It's huge. And seeing actually the number of documents that have been signed and returned, that kind of blew my mind because I knew that it was better. I knew things were moving faster. I didn't think we had hit hundreds of documents at that point.
Back in my day, I used to have to mail it all out.
Yeah, right.
Every single time, and that's not that long ago. I mean, it's impressive to hear that. I empathize with that a lot because I remember having to mail all of those documents out and then wait for a week to 5 to figure out if I was going to get it back. Just brutal. Kathy, you know nothing about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, right? Oh my God, yeah.
Well, what's been the biggest impact for you?
Or scheduling an appointment to meet with someone to have them sign things.
Right.
It was like, oh, I can't do that day. How about this day? And it's like,
Just to get a signature.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Now we just sign contracts right online.
Yeah, it's so easy. Well, so what's been the biggest impact for you? I mean, as a solo, doing all the things, you're your own support staff and everything else, what's been the biggest impact for you in your implementation?
I would say the biggest, between the document storage, I try not to print anything out anymore because it's all just kept right there and, in the unlimited storage on Clio. But also the electronic signing, like Adam was talking about, just makes everything go so much faster. And because I don't have an office, I work out of my home still for the last 2 years, makes it a lot easier because now I don't have to either drive to the client's house or have them come into my house and meet my dog. But, everything's just, that's one of the first things I ask the clients when they sign on with me. I'm like, are you comfortable using the computer?
Yep.
Because this is going to make everything a lot easier, a lot quicker. So that's probably one of the biggest impacts I've had.
Yeah, I can imagine. How about you? What's your biggest?
I make more money.
Okay, well, yeah, that counts.
No, I do, I think that that's really, isn't that what we're all trying to do in a way, right? So I'm capturing more billing because I've used some integrations that come right along with the program. I'm capturing more billing. My bills are getting out on time. My clients are happy with us because we have the answers that they need at our fingertips, which leads to more referrals. More referrals leads to more work. More work requires more efficiency. And I've done the numbers, and I think that at the end of the day, the biggest impact any of the technologies that I have in my firm are that I'm making more money, and that return on investment, it's very minor. I mean, the initial investment for these programs financially is minor compared to the results. It's the investment of time.
Yeah.
That was the cost. The cost was investing to take some time out when my Clio consultant would call me or my technology consultant would call me and say, Andrea, where are you with your forms? Are they in there? Are they going? No. So you need somebody with accountability. You need somebody to hold you accountable to keep the process moving, because it's very easy to say, oh, yay, the calendar works now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Clio amazing.
You're Clio
No.
amazing, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So I think one of the things that I really appreciated about hearing that is like staying accountable and having someone help keep you accountable as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if anyone did anybody go see the legal trends report stuff? A couple of you, yay. So one of the things that the trends report showed was that, when we talk to attorneys, we see only a 31% utilization rate. So of your entire 8 hours, because we all only work 8 hours, 31% of your time is actually billable. And things that are managed to be billable. And so the more that you talk about efficiency and how you can streamline can make a huge difference. So now you have a little bit more of that. So, and I want to make sure we have enough time for questions, but I want to also just get one more for you all, which is, what would be your number one piece of advice? So whether it's the change in shifting to Clio, or the change in becoming a solo or starting your own firm, getting a new partner, what's your number one piece of advice to the folks here about how to make that change?
So I'm going to return to something I already commented on, and that was just to give myself time to learn how to properly integrate these things. There's like an exciting moment when you look at the capabilities, and there's such a big gap between realizing the capabilities and being able to consistently implement it on a daily basis, and that frustrated me. And at first, there was other programs that I had signed up for alongside that integrated, and I literally thought, like, I just got to pull the trigger, pay for it, and I think that'll probably solve most of it. And it didn't, of course. And so recognizing that implementation is going to happen over a longer timeline is fine. And that was big to kind of accept that, because we still see incremental improvements along the way. And so that's kind of just a way of showing grace to yourself and realizing, like, this is still a good idea, even though we're not operating at max capacity.
I love that. Just one step forward is still an accomplishment, and it's still progress. I love that. How about you?
I would say starting with the software program as early as you can. That was one of the first things the Clio rep told me, because I was like, do I even need this now? Because I don't really have any clients yet. And she's like, no, this is the best time, the optimal time to start, because you don't have to stay up all night and upload clients. So I would say it made it a lot easier, the sooner you can to start with a program like that, where you'd have to input a lot of data.
Yeah, that's a good point. How about you?
I would say commit. Like, you're skiing, you've got to commit to that slope or you're going to fall. Commit and decide that you're going to do it, and then take a little bit of time. I had just read, when I started a Clio, I had just read The Spirit of Kaizen, which is this concept of small movements equal big change. Very small movements equal big change, and that's something I can totally agree with Adam about. Get your calendar together, commit. Look, in the first quarter of next year, I'm going to work on making sure everything's on the calendar and it's syncing with Outlook. In the second quarter, I'm going to implement billing. Or the first year and the second year. We have long careers in law, and we have plenty of time. But just commit to it, because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this one. It's too valuable. It could save you too much time and make you too much money to not commit.
I love that. Commit and do it early before you can. So I want to say thank you to all of you for your incredible participation, and I want to open it up to anyone in the audience that has questions, either for the panelists or for me. I don't guarantee I'll be able to help you at all, but I will do my best. Any questions from y'all? Yeah? I'm going to repeat it just so folks can hear it. So the question was, when the other partner asks, like, what's the status, right? And Adam can give the status. So the question is, do you have some reports that you are able to provide that shows you the status?
I do, and it's the product of, I do for one of our practice areas. I do not have it for all of our practice areas. So that's one of 4. The other ones are coming. And so I was able to do it just by using the tasks feature and setting up a custom field that related to specifically status and where we are. And to make it easier for my team, right, it's a drop down, so you can choose where we are, and then you just run it based on tasks. So that's a specific answer for your specific question. And but in a more general sense, it was a matter of looking at the capabilities that it had, and then using the custom settings and the custom fields, and then also being willing, and this is a very specific response also, but being willing to export data to a CSV file and use some of the features in Excel or things like that. It doesn't all have to happen on that interface.
Yeah, and if you want to get some help setting up reports, there's a ton of folks downstairs that would love to show you. So feel free to go down to the exhibition hall and go to the Success Center, and some of my favorite folks are down there. I think there was another woman. I'm so sorry. What was your question? So
Yeah.
I'll quickly repeat that. So tell me if I got this right. It's okay. So we have a larger firm, about 40 employees, and there's a lot of range in terms of, like, not only age, but also excitement and engagement. And so how do you approach that in the best way to keep everyone moving together in the right direction? Did I kind of... Okay, so Andrea, please.
This one I love, because that's kind of what I've had in both firms. And I would tell you that a lot of it is about teamwork and buy-in, okay? So one of the things I've done is I've hosted a lunch, and I brought in the best lunch that my paralegals love, my staff loves, and I brought in a consultant, but I was also in the room, and we talked about, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And one of the things that I was able to tell my staff, we're not a group of 40, but we're about 6, and I was able to say, I promise you, if we can see better returns at the end of the year, you will benefit from that as well. It will be easier for me to give raises around the holidays and stuff. But the other thing I did was I gave gift cards for things. So like if, for example, Ruby really liked to do the task. And if Ruby did all of the tasks for the month, I would give her like a Starbucks gift card and then like a flowers or something. But I think the idea is, especially in a group that big, is put those age groups together in workshops within the practice and let them work at their speed with your guru in the office on Clio, and take it one step at a time. Today we're only going to talk about how to do a task. Today we're only going to talk about how to look at the calendar in Clio. Today we're only going to talk about running financial reports, because not everybody in your firm has to use every part of Clio. They just have to be good at the part that they use the most. So I would take everybody, break up into groups based on their age group, in fact, or their speed with technology, and implement it in a way like that. But they've got to know, and I think this is true with all of our staff, they have to know that the result is going to benefit them, not just you. You know, I promise you guys, if this thing is going to be more time efficient, we can leave at 4:30, 4 o'clock on Fridays. I promise you that if this is going to be more efficient, I won't be so hesitant for you to have that day off, because we're going to get ahead of this game and bring everybody on board to take them with you.
I completely agree with that. I mean, in a previous life, I did a lot of client trainings, and that was my entire job, was to help big groups of people get on board. It's okay to have people at different paces. It's also okay, you might have some practice areas or some groups of people that only need this type of functionality, whereas another group needs something a little bit more robust. It's okay to split it up, and that's perfectly acceptable. And that's one of the reasons why, again, like, we're all here to help support you in that. Yeah. So the question was, there's so many changes that happen in Clio. There's a lot of stuff that comes down the pike, and so making sure that you know what they are and whether or not you should be using them, and make sure everyone uses it consistently. I would recommend a partnership between making sure you know where all of the updates are within Clio, so we can show you that down at the Success Center, absolutely. But I think the second point that you're getting to is, how do I update my firm? How does everyone at the firm stay on the same page? And before I give any thoughts, does anyone here have any recommendations on that?
I've got a strong response. Excuse me. You asked if you should set up a blog or an update or something like that. No, but I'm saying, like, should you do one dedicated to this, right? And they've done it, right? Like, don't redo that. So I have the same inclination that you do, and I will write how-tos. I'll take screenshots, and I exhaust myself, and I hate myself for it, right? Because I'm just like, this wasn't necessary, right? It's going to take 5 minutes. It's an hour later, and I have done something that was totally unnecessary. And so I try so hard to just share links to videos. Mm-hmm. So almost all of the and I'd love to be able to say part of what you're going to say, just because as a user, I've seen it. So almost all of the new features are teased, right, in advance, where they say this is going to come soon. And there's part of the interface that will show you when these things are coming. And then they also are accompanied by something in the knowledge base or the help center or something like that, yeah, where they will walk you through it with a video. And so I do my best not to do anything and to try to just share links to these videos, because they're way better than my scrawling. It's just trash, right? And there's so much.
We got you covered. Help.clio.com, honey.
So you're saying share what Clio has. That's the go-to.
Because it's better.
Right? Yeah, so the moral of this story here from Adam is, share what Clio has already done for you. Right. So we have something called the Knowledge Center, which one of my dear friends at Clio actually manages. And help.clio.com has all your videos, all your walkthroughs, everything you could possibly want, whether it's a feature you've been using for 5 years, or it's something that just came out last week. So you do not need to do it all yourself.
No, and it's a good tool for onboarding.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. I mean, it sounds like, yeah, kind of having someone that's a champion and somebody who uses it really well helps show everyone else how they use something, like text messaging, for example, is really important. And I know you've done that at your firm as well, to kind of get people on board with something that's new.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a phenomenal idea, and it will definitely help, especially if they hear it from a peer. It makes a difference. What other, yeah, ma'am. Okay, so you're from a company that integrates with Clio, and you're specifically asking how you or we in general could help with change management with firms. How would that be the most effective? Yeah?
I think the videos that Adam was talking about, you know, I mean, I think that anytime that you can just shoot us videos, shoot us emails with this integration that we can just pass through the office is great. And like I was saying, for onboarding, when I have new employees come, they literally spend the first half of their first day watching how-to videos on Clio. And I'm not wasting the hours of a paralegal or another associate to teach them something. I'm letting Clio do it. So anytime you can do that, it saves us time and money.
Yeah.
And So I've searched and then chosen a number of integrations, and one of the things that will cause me to actually follow through with purchasing and integrating it is a robust explanation of how it actually integrates. So what features are able to integrate. And so, the videos are wonderful. And I've done searches recently. We just adopted a new VoIP system in the office so that we could track calls and bill more time more effectively. And the carriers that just pointed me to a paragraph, and it was the same thing on the same thing on their website as on the Clio website. I didn't get my questions answered. I spent a couple minutes and just moved on to the next potential integration and found the ones where I could get a granular understanding of how exactly it integrates, because I know what features I want to use. I know how I want to use it, and I want to know if this will allow me to do it.
I love that. That helped? Yes?
You guys use Clio for clients.
Do you use Clio for clients?
My clients upload, my consultant's looking at me going, you do. Yeah, my clients upload their documents. So I do a heavy amount of discovery in our cases. So my clients use Clio Connect to upload, is it still Clio Connect? Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. They use that to upload all of their discovery documents, and then they're all there. So instead of them using a Dropbox, they're sending it into Clio, and I'm being able to access it from Clio.
Oh my gosh, so this is the part where you reach the edge of what I know. So I am a fairly new client starting in March, which is such a beautiful thing. So to use Clio for clients more robustly than that, where you can connect and communicate with your clients, they can upload their own documents and do all of that through a central portal. The Clio for Clients stuff is down at the Success Center for sure, and they'll give you a far superior walkthrough than I ever could. No. Nope. I do know that much. That much I know.
There's a guy all the way in the back.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I don't know if you can see him.
I can't, thank you.
Because that light.
Hi. It's all right. So I think the answer is clearly start charging for paper.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
take it out of their pay.
So I'll repeat the question. The question is, how do I get folks? So in your firm, it's younger folks that are struggling, but how do you get them off of printing and starting to actually adopt a more paper-free experience?
Their cell phones, they're addicted. So the Clio app is everything, right? And so, I mean, for me, it's the app. I can use it on my iPad. I mean, I think my millennials, like, they know it better than I do. So, the ones that show up late with Starbucks, are those what you have? So for me, it's the app. For me, my staff really likes those younger kids. They like that they can bill on the app. I'm like, I have an associate who keeps her phone here. She doesn't even bill on Clio on the computer. She puts it here because on the app, it's a lot faster for her, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, some kind of disincentive for printing stuff out. Just my old boss used to hide the paper.
Just hide the paper.
Because he didn't want us printing out so much. But that's really...
So the question is, how can I help some folks get past the honeymoon stage where, oh my gosh, this technology is amazing, I want to keep doing this, and then it sort of falls flat as soon as that gets done. So how do you keep that momentum going and then also start bringing folks along that are just stuck in their old ways? I'm looking at you.
We're looking at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know. No. So actually, you said you don't want to say you have to do this. I told people, I said, guys, you're going to maintain access to calendaring in the way that you've been doing it for 6 months. I said, and I told them, I'm cutting you off entirely at the end of 6 months. And they had plenty of time, right? They had plenty of resources. And before 6 months came, we were able to just cut it off. And so that you could no longer make calendar entries through Outlook, you had to do it through Clio, except for our senior partner. And that's fine. That's the way she works most effectively. So not everybody has to do it at the same time or in the same way, right? But I mean, and I realize that it may be difficult for you to do that in your position. So I would consider, talking with the owner that you referenced and saying, I know that you're interested in these things for these reasons, and bring him in on the enforcement. And he doesn't need to know how, right? He doesn't need to be able to walk anybody through it. But you need some backup, right? If people are setting goals for you and then not supporting you through the implementation, you need to remind them, I need you to make this a thing, right? Like, you need to help me implement this, because he's going to be able to wield some authority that you potentially can't in your position. And it's not fair to give somebody responsibility without authority, right? So I think you should feel free to ask that person for that sort of support.
And have a plan. Have a plan for how you want that owner to participate and support you. I think that also makes a big difference. Just being really clear about.
Have him identify his goals in an abstract or a broad sense, right? Take a moment, figure it out, and then bring it back to him and just focus on those goals. You said you wanted to do this. It helps us do this by doing that. You don't need to know how. Just help me encourage the team to follow through.
Yeah, and I know there are, I'm sure, like a million other questions, but I do want to make sure that we all stay on time. I want to say thank you all so much, not only for your participation, but also to our panelists for sharing such incredible best practices. We do at 1:15 in Governor B, we're going through all of our newest Clio features. So if those of you want to learn all the cool new stuff, it's going to be there at 1:15. And feel free to join our community, and please share feedback in the Clio app as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So thanks so much to every one of you for coming, and don't hesitate to connect with myself or the panelists afterwards. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.